Hi, welcome to the Araminta Society Conversations. My name is Muhammida El Muhajir.
My name is Christa Sanders.
And we're here today in Accra, Ghana. We've been living here for quite a number of years, and we get questions all the time about what it's like to visit, what it's like to live here, from friends, from family, from media. And so we wanted to just create this series to let everybody know all the answers that we've been giving, the advice we've been sharing over the years about what it's like living and moving to the continent. So Christa, let's get into this.
Yes, let's get started.
So how long have you been living in Ghana, and what brought you here?
I have been living here now 20 good years.
You are OG.
I believe I am, right? Actually, in August, it will be 21 years.
Wow.
Living in Accra.
Wow.
And I came initially because of a job opportunity with New York University to help them start their first study abroad program on the continent that was offering year and semester options for students. But I actually came to Ghana the first time with my father back in 1999.
Oh, wow.
That was my first trip to the African continent and to Ghana specifically. He's a professor of religion, and so I came with a group of his students, and he really inspired me. I said, at some point, I really, really would like to come back here, and if there's a possibility to live here, I'm gonna run after that opportunity. And I did. It took a couple of years, but eventually I came back in 2003, and then in 2004 I received a job offer of my life, to work for NYU.
Okay, let's go back a little bit, because let's talk about those early years and how we crossed paths. First of all, we know each other from Philly,
Yes.
but we crossed paths in Accra.
Yes.
When I was here doing a graduate school program
That's
at the
right.
University of Ghana, International Relations graduate school program, and I was here for a semester, and you were coming with one of your groups.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I did not love Ghana then.
It was hard. Those were the hard days.
Right, because that was in 2003. But you loved Ghana. You always loved Ghana.
I was always passionate about it. I don't know, maybe because you were coming from the angle of a university student. I was coming from the angle of starting a professional career, or continuing, I should say, a professional career here. And so those are two very different experiences, right? But those were also the days of a lot of electricity outages, water challenges, which...
Have they ended? Wait, have those ended?
They haven't ended completely, but it's nothing like it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I would say, we were in that period of those kind of challenges that kind of come with living in the developing world anyway, and just trying to navigate those challenges.
Yeah.
Maybe that was part of it. I'm not sure. You have to tell me what your
that was even before
experience
you moved here, because you were still on the trips. You were coming on
true.
the trip, right?
Yes.
But I do think it was different, me being a graduate school student and you just kind of like traveling around, like having that luxury.
Right.
But let's fast forward. So that was 2003. The very next year, 2004, you moved to Ghana to start your job
with 2 suitcases.
At NYU. And what was your title?
So I was essentially the deputy director or the associate director of New York University's study abroad program, the inaugural study abroad program in Ghana. It was an incredible opportunity. At the time, I was the second person in command. My boss, Dr. Kosia Anidaho, was the head of the campus, and it was very, very powerful at that time to have 2 women in a very male-dominated society leading a higher education institution.
Okay.
And so it was a phenomenal opportunity of a lifetime. I was the only person who was hired from the United States to come over and jumpstart that program. And so it was a dream come true for me to be able to work and live in this country that I'd fallen in love with upon coming and going with my father and his students back in the day.
So then, so like 10 years passed. I was here for the program 2003, and then I didn't come back to Ghana again until 2013. Okay,
Wow.
so that was 10 years.
Yes.
But in that 10 years, you had been laying some serious groundwork, tapping into the vibe, the flavor, doing your first Fridays, all of that.
Oh my gosh, first Fridays.
So when I came after 10 years of not being in Ghana, it was like a whole new world, right? And I always told people, like, you helped to curate that experience for me. When I came, I was here for like maybe 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
And then in that time, I mean, it was like Accra doll. Oh, it was like moving pick part. Like none of these things. La Villa Boutique Hotel had some cute parts. Like, but when I was here in 2003, none of that. Like there was no coffee shops. It was like Frankie's, and that was it. Like there was nothing. So when I came in 2013, you were like, okay, this is where we're going, and this is this, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, things done changed.
Yes.
I'm like, and then that trip, I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna move, and then I moved the following year in 2014. And like did that whole run from there. So really early on, but like talk to me about just kind of like curating those experiences, because you were doing that on the trips with your dad, but more from an academic sort of maybe lens, and then the trip that I came, it was more social, the social scene. So how did you see like that social scene growing and like to leading to even what it is to now?
I mean, I think those early years when I was coming back and forth with groups, my dad is a member of the clergy, and so we were with students who are studying to be ministers, right? And so it was a very specific journey. As we know, Ghana is an incredibly religious country, and so it was an exploration of all aspects of religion. So that was a very different experience that I was personally curating with him. But then to be working professionally, meeting students coming from New York City who really want a very different experience, that really forced me to get out and into the community, not only to set up things like internships and other opportunities for students, travel excursions, but it allowed me the opportunity to really meet the community of Accra and start making connections and building bridges. Some of it, was more on the official side because of the job, but then also the opportunity to get to know and socialize with folks in all different aspects of the society. And literally, I would say from the presidency to the art center to the marketplace, all of those experiences became my own, and to share with others. And so I think that was the beginning of it. Also recognizing that Accra has this incredible, renowned nightlife experience. And so that was also my experience, because of course, students would come, where do you go? You want to help them navigate it. And then a lot of friends. Beyond you, I had other friends who were coming in town and wanted to know, what's the latest? What can you do? Where can you hang out? And so because of that, I started getting to know the different art galleries, the different bars, restaurants, and scenes. And I saw that there was a lot of interest in that. And so I think that was like the beginning of connecting with Ghanaian society at a very, very different level, and also the diaspora that was beginning to have a lot of interest in coming to Ghana, and eventually, when I see where we are today, now leaving your life to move over here. But these were the early days of that emergence, or those emerging experiences. And so I think that was what that was part of. Because I remember at that time when you came, there was a place called Coco Lounge. There was another place called Bella Roma, where we all used to just enjoy each other and connect, and also just enjoy the party nightlife scene. And so that was also part of the experience, but also the emerging scene of artists, because this is a country where we have such incredible artists and beautiful galleries and museums and things like that. And so working for an institution like New York University, which is very much an arts institution, that also encouraged me to connect with those communities. So I think that was part of it.
Okay, all right. And so for me, when I decided to move here, I kind of was like, okay, what can I do when I go there, right? So I went on LinkedIn. Okay, everybody knows I love LinkedIn. And I was like, well, I gotta find something in Ghana. What can I find in Ghana, right? But I also been thinking about, as a serial kind of entrepreneur, like
Right.
business opportunities, and
Yes.
also really wanted to get deep down into technology.
Yeah.
And so what I found was a fellowship. I applied for a fellowship with Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of
MEST, right?
Technology, also known as MEST, to be a fellow there, where I was accepted. So I worked in their incubator, working with founders of tech startups from Ghana and Nigeria, and really applying my marketing skills that I've done globally with Nike and a bunch of really big companies, but helping tiny startups with one or two staff, grow their companies and get like global awareness. So I did that fellowship for a year, and I thought 1 year, because you could come to Ghana, as we all know, for like 4 or 5 days or a week or 2 weeks and be like, I love it.
Right.
But what is that going to look like past a year? The fellowship was 1 year. So I was like, I know after 1 year, I'm going to know, is this the place for me? Do I want to stay here? What do I want to do? And so after the year, I decided I was still feeling it, and that just went on to now what is 10 years later.
I know, which is incredible. But that fellowship was very prestigious.
Yeah.
Right? And did you enjoy that experience of working with MEST? And like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, and I think it was like at the beginning of like the tech scene in Africa, right? I mean, MEST has definitely had a really significant role in kind of developing those foundations and like getting founders up to that level. So just being a part of that, I mean, Meltwater is a Silicon Valley company that's in like probably 50 countries. So it is like they are tapped into like the global tech scene, and to be able to live here in Africa, but then be able to be tapped into the global tech scene. That was an amazing experience, and just kind of like understanding what it's like to, work with startups, to, start a startup, and, just kind of like help them. And doing that, like you said, with your job, I was tapping in and kind of like learning the scene, things that I was doing for my founders, even for myself. I did a few parties, my Accra Love series.
Yes, I remember that.
So just like tapping in, we're like that no matter where we're going to be in the world, we're going to be like tapped in. We're going to know the who's who, the what's what, and we were doing that, and we've been doing that, and really laying a foundation. So so this was a great start to the conversation, just talking about like how we got here, so people understand we're not new to this, we true to this, because I think people are want to know like, how did you get there? So kind of wanted to like give people a sense of that as we continue these conversations about like living and thriving, I would say, on the continent. So we're going to continue these Araminta Society conversations about life, moving to Ghana, to the continent, because we'll talk about as we go through the series that you've actually visited like I don't know how many countries in Africa, but like a lot. Yes. So we talk about Ghana, which is kind of like an easy landing on the continent, but you've obviously traveled, and I've traveled a little bit, probably 7 countries or something. I know you've probably been to about 20 something, but anyway, we're gonna get into all that because people want to know, and they should know, and they should hear it really honestly and authentically. And so that's what we want to share.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to continued conversations.
Okay. So thank you for joining us for today's discussion with the Araminta Society Conversations, where we're talking about making the move to living and thriving in Ghana and on the motherland. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for another episode.
Look forward to seeing you.